So the element of deception. Now, this is from a very interesting book called Messengers of Deception, written by Jack Vallée, who is a researcher, I believe an academic, well, definitely an academic, and has spent several decades studying the UFO phenomenon. And he's one of those individuals that doesn't believe these are extraterrestrials from another planet. His particular view is that these are some other form of non-human intelligence that's been here for a very long time, right? And this is based on his studies. And he writes here, the absurdity of many UFO stories and of many religious visions is not a superficial logical mistake. It may be the key to their function. According to Major Murphy, the confusion in the UFO mystery may have been put there deliberately to achieve certain results. One of these results has been to keep scientists away, up until now at least, right? The other is to create form of social control, or a new religion, as some academics are suggesting today. A change in man's perception of his place in the universe, and he, end quote, it finishes there. And then what he does in this particular book is he outlines or highlights, as the name suggests, the messengers of deception, that this phenomenon, when it engages with human beings, there's a huge element of deception that is involved. Now, he outlines, I think, four main categories. There's probably a few more, but I've outlined four of them here. So there's the intellectual aspect of the abduction, where these beings are, and you can read the notes there, or the excerpts from his book underneath these titles. The intellectual abduction aspect is where these beings make people believe that they are superior intellectually and that they have the solution to their problems, um, and therefore making people feel inferior and therefore leading people to submit to them. Then there's the racist philosophy. The pernicious suggestion, as he writes here, the pernicious suggestion that some of us on Earth are of extraterrestrial descent and therefore constitute a higher race. Now, this is very interesting. We're seeing this happen today as well. In a recent interview with Gary Nolan, uh, something very interesting was mentioned. He said that because he studied the brain scans of the people that have had contact with these beings, that these people's brains are in some ways more highly developed, that these people are more intelligent. Now, again, this creates a narrative that people that engage with the phenomenon, contact the phenomenon, believe in the phenomenon, are more intelligent people. And what this does on a social level, because everyone wants to be intelligent and wants to associate themselves with intelligent people, they automatically want to therefore believe in this phenomenon and contact this phenomenon and be contactees. So it's a very interesting psychological uh, situation here that we have. It's almost like today, at least, this phenomenon is engaging with respectable people within society, people that others follow. Uh, we've had D.W. Pasulka, who's written some very popular books currently. She's a professor of religious studies. And on her recent interview with Jesse, I don't remember his full name, Jesse, he's got a channel dealing with this topic. She actually comes out and says she's had experiences herself when she started studying this. Gary Nolan, he is a nominee for the Nobel Prize. And he himself has said openly in that interview that I mentioned earlier that he has had experiences with the phenomenon. So it's almost like this phenomenon is engaging with people of caliber within today's society, people that are respected, scientists, academics, people from the government, etc. Why? We can speculate on that, but I find it very interesting. I mean, if you're going to get if you're going to start a new religion or a new way of life, then you need you need your saints, right? And what better than to have saints that are people of high caliber, respected people who people look up to, as opposed to just the common folk, right? So it's very interesting from this perspective. Then there's the technical impotence, the statement that the birth of civilization on this planet results not from genius and ability of mankind, but from repeated assistance by higher beings. So again, these contactees, and by the way, these are Vallée studied abductees and their stories. And after studying many, many, many of these stories, he came to these sort of common traits which stood out of deception that were there amongst many of these reports. So these beings make people feel these during these contact events, people are made to feel like they are technically impotent, that the human civilization has been dependent upon these beings. These beings helped to develop human civilization, etc., etc. So this is very interesting as well. Look, if you want people to submit to you and to follow you, right, you have to show yourself to be superior, and you have to show yourself to be uh, a type of being that's been helping facilitate the growth of humanity throughout the ages. And this seems to be the case here. Social utopia, so there's these promises that are made by these beings about, being shown a new world, being shown a new place that they could be taken to, where they can start over again, and so on and so forth. And if you really look at all of these categories and you see what's going on here, it seems like that these contact events, these beings, what they're doing is they seem to be suggesting to human beings that they are superior, that they are better, that they are there to look out for us, that they are there to make the world a better place. And therefore, by presenting themselves in this way, it's people are going to feel naturally like they are dealing with beings that are a higher being, almost a divine being. And you have the professor of systematic theology, Ted Peters. He himself, in his essay on this, he basically highlighted that these are symbols, these are religious symbols. The way that this phenomenon is behaving is in a very religious way. The way these beings are presenting themselves is in a very divine way, right? And even from a governmental standpoint, if you look at the Nimitz incident, one of the most startling things about that incident is that you had the best technology that human beings have today, the best fighter jets from the superpower, the superpower of the world, America, and these supposed craft or objects in the sky were running circles around these craft. And again, what sense does this create in the minds of people? That these things, this phenomenon, is superior to us. It is better than us, right? If you're going to show up the greatest superpower and the greatest technology they have, well, then the whole world is naturally going to believe that whatever this thing is far more powerful than us, and is greater than us, and therefore create this state of submission within people. Now, if you juxtapose this to the intent of Shaitan, as we spoke about earlier, which is he wants to misguide people. He wants to move people away from the worship of God, of Allah, and to the worship of other things. And historically, we know Shaitan has done this. I'll give you an example in a few slides, where he slowly encouraged people of the past to fall into the worship of idols. It's almost like he's setting the modern mind up today, the secular mind, the techno-secular mind who doesn't believe in God. He's setting that mind up to fall into the worship of these higher beings, as opposed to the worship of the creator of the heavens and the earth. This is just me connecting the dots in my own way. I can't, this is my speculation and my thoughts, but it's very interesting when you see the correlations here. So there's the element of deception that Valet has noted. Now, we know from the Islamic tradition that the objective of shaitan is to deceive, is to mislead. In Quran chapter 4, verse 120, it says, Satan only makes them false promises and deludes them with empty hopes. Truly, Satan promises them nothing but delusion. This verse in and of itself is profound, and it completely encompasses the previous slide, the element of deception that these beings are engaging in. Further, Quran chapter 20, verse 120, but Satan whispered to him, and this is to Adam. This is going back to the beginning, the origins of man. He whispered to him, saying, "O Adam, shall I show you the tree of immortality and the kingdom that does not fade away?" Very, very interesting, subhanAllah, if you think about this. So you can see the way Shaitan deceives here is he makes false promises, in this case to Adam, our father, the first human being. And he makes promises of immortality and the kingdom that never fades. Very similar, going back to the social utopia that's been promised to people today. Reports of people being promised to be taken to a new world, which is free of these problems and issues that we find in this world, etc. I mean, it's almost spot on if you think about it from this perspective. Uh, in Sahih Bukhari, there is a report. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, all of the idols, and this is the narration I was speaking about, all of the idols amongst the people of Noah appeared among the Arabs later. They were the names of righteous men among the people of Noah. When they passed away, Satan inspired in the people to build statues in the places they used to sit, and name them by their names. They did so, and they were not worshipped until the first generation had passed away, and knowledge was lost. Then they were worshipped. So you can see, according to this narration, Satan, or the evil jinn, the way they work is in gradual steps. They mislead people in steps, slowly over time. So in this case, with the people of the past, initially they encourage them to make these idols and these symbols so they can remember the people, the great prophets and the great people of the past, just as a point of reference. And then over time, as the generations passed, people started to fall into the worship of these idols. And what was achieved? Satan's objective, which is to take people away from the worship of God and towards the worship of something else. And again, when you look at the UFO phenomenon, there seems to be a gradual process. Valet's mentioned this as well. There's this gradual uh, implementation of a new narrative. It's almost, and in Pasulka's words, a new religion that's been created and implemented in the world today. So I mean, again, it's very interesting, these correlations, when you start to study and look into them.